And I always say there's no downside to connecting people. It's free.
Mm.
It's just if I meet somebody over here and someone over here and I go, oh my gosh, they should belong together, that understanding there's a joy in connecting people.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Iconic Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Chaitra Vedalapalli, President of Women in Cloud. This podcast is for founders, executives, investors, and change makers who are done playing small and ready to lead movements that actually matter. Every week, we don't talk about big ideas, we unpack lived experiences, pivotal moments, and the real system behind leadership that democratize access and create lasting impact. Because here's what I believe: prosperity should be the default, not the exception. Together, we are here to democratize intelligence, elevate how you lead, and help you shape the next 50 years of inclusive innovation. Today, I'm joined by Catherine Gray. She's the executive producer for Show Her the Money movie. She's also a venture capitalist, author, keynote, and a TEDx speaker, and the host for Invest in Her podcast. She's also the founder and CEO of She Angels Investor and co-founder of She Angels Foundation. As a CEO of She Angel Investor, it's a multimedia platform. Catherine helps connect founders and funders to resources and to each other. But here is what matters the most. She tackles the systematic underfunding of women by building platforms, sharing their personal stories, and creating educational programs that drive awareness and access. Through her leadership, she is fostering responsibility and scale in the movement to empower women, founders, and funders. Again, Catherine, welcome and congratulations on the release of the movie on Amazon and Apple.
Chai, it's so great to be here. And I love everything that you're doing and getting together iconic leaders to talk about what are we doing all together to help change the world and make it a better place, especially for women investors, women that are founders, and women in general. So I'm so happy to be on the show and talk about that today.
Again, Catherine, you've been a legend and an icon and a role model for me. And really, when I saw the billboards and you were showing the Show Her the Money, I felt so happy. I can't tell you, because as a founder, as an investor, you are representing us. But what I want to understand is before all this happened, take us a moment when you realized the real funding gap for women. When did you realize that?
Yeah, great question, Chai. I was putting on some events called Live, Love, Thrive Conference, and I decided to add an evening to that weekend. I thought, oh, I'm crazy to add a whole nother night, but it was called She Tank, which then ended up after I filmed it, I had to call it She Angels series because Shark Tank wanted me to cease and desist on She Tank. So it became She Angel series. And what it was a pitch fest of women investing in women because I had heard women were so underfunded. Women weren't investing in women. I thought, let's get some women together to invest in some women entrepreneurs with some great ideas. And that was the beginning. That was the pitch fest. While I was putting that together and filming that series and following the journey of these women, I met some other women in the venture capital space. And they said women only get 2% of venture capital. And I was like, 2%? Are you telling me that men get 98% and women get 2%? And what exactly is this venture capital? And so I began to learn about what was venture capital and how important it is to the future of the planet. It's about what ideas and innovations are funded that could be scaled on a huge level. And women were being left out of that scenario. And I'm a big believer it's film and television that helps change culture by raising awareness. And I thought, why hasn't anyone made a movie about this? And I'd made movies in the past. One in particular was called I Can't Marry You. It was about same sex marriage. And I believe that at the time that I made it, I was like, why don't we have that? And people said, oh, that'll never happen. And so I made the film. And what do you know, 10 years or so after I made the film, that came into fruition. And now, of course, LGBTQ people can be married. And I do believe it's film and television that helped change that by raising awareness. So, same scenario. I'm like, how come no one knows about this? If they don't know about it, we can't fix it. And I talked to very accomplished, smart people, even people that had worked on Wall Street that didn't even know that women were getting only 2% of venture capital. So I set out to learn about venture capital, learn why we were only getting 2%. And then I actually kicked it off with a TED Talk about this. And in doing my research for that TED Talk, I came to realize that the research shows that people tend to invest in people they identify with.
Mhm.
So if it was all white men sitting at the table deciding who gets the money, they're not relating to the women that are pitching. And so we have to have women sitting at that table deciding who gets the money and how were we going to do that. We had to have a movie to raise awareness. Women tend to be people that enjoy storytelling and heartfelt stories to humanize a problem. Nothing
Mhm.
wrong with that. And so that's what we did in the movie. We humanized the problem by showing the incredible journeys of several women entrepreneurs and their struggle to get funding and the journey that they took. And I think women sat in the audience from what they've told me and said, "Oh my God, I saw myself in that film. I felt so unseen and unheard. And now I feel like I'm not alone. Other people are struggling too. I'm not crazy." Right. And so the film validated it. We also showcased women that were starting their own funds, which no one even knew about. Women out there raising millions of dollars for their venture funds to invest in women. And they have been like the unsung heroes. And then,
Mhm.
of course, the women that are successful or inherited money that are stepping up to the plate to invest in women founded funds that are investing in women. So all three of those were represented in the film to show how this ecosystem is broken and how we can fix it, and how you, as the audience, can be part of the solution. And together, we can build a whole new ecosystem that serves women and other overlooked communities like people of color, like LGBTQ that aren't getting funding, because it's so important that all of these innovations get funded in order to build the wealth for all, democratize the system, but also really benefit everyone. I always say it may be a woman that has the cure for prostate cancer. We better fund her, right, guys? So
Yeah,
it's things that women do can affect men and vice versa. So it's
that's right.
important to have women's ideas and innovations created. And how exciting this venture capital world is, because it is where the future innovations are funded. And what's more exciting than being a part of that? Funding the future, finding out what innovations are coming down the pike and being a part of it. You don't have to be someone that has the idea. You can be someone that invests in that next great idea. That can be your legacy and that can build your wealth.
Catherine, what you said was humanizing the problem is so true because before your movie, even when we talked about it, no one understood the problem was real. And you inspired us to really create the movie Icons because we humanized the problem for women to get into the tech industry and build tech solution. So it was really helpful because we thought the media platform was a very powerful platform. But you took a film, but you made it as a movement. And it's one of those movements that when you look at it in the industry of venture capital, your story shows up on the top. How did it become a movement? And what did you do that created the movement and everyone was like excited to be part of it?
First of all, I say it started with how crazy is it that I'm trying to raise $1 million about a movie that's about how hard it is to raise money? There's a dichotomy right there. But I found enough women and a couple of men that invested in the film that believed in the fact that we needed a film in order to change this. So they believed in it. And the way it became a movement, part of it was structured to do that, and part of it was organic. So, what I did was I tried to take all the right steps by putting it first in the film festival so that we would hopefully win awards, which we did to give it gravitas. We then went for the Academy Awards, got on that consideration list. I had to raise money for that campaign, but I knew it was important. It would give us also more credibility, more exposure. And so we did that. And what that entailed was having to run the film for 1 week in a theater in LA and New York. And unbeknownst to me, that was the match that lit the fire. So once we showed the film in those two theaters to the right audiences, which were potential investors as well as founders, it just caught fire. And we actually ended up getting deluged from all over the world with requests for the film, which we had put on a platform called Kinema, which is great if you're building a movement, as you know, with your film. It's a great place. It protects your film from being taken and also gives it a way for people to be able to go sign up for it and show it to their group or their community or their college or whatever the case may be. And that really was a great tool for us to grow our organic tour. And then we also got a corporate sponsor, Wells Fargo, to underwrite the tour so we could actually be there at the screenings. And so many of us from the film would, myself as executive producer, I would go, and then sometimes it would be the director or somebody in the film or other investors. And so that also ignited an excitement that they could see and talk to the people in the film or that were affiliated with the film, and just driving an excitement of the film itself, which people just loved, meeting the people in the film and getting to talk about it after the film. I think there's too many documentaries and it just leaves you hanging at the end like, okay, there's a problem. Now, what do I do? And we tried to guide people and you can be part of this movement. And we say it's a movie and a movement, so we coined it a movement.
Love the movie meant. I think you should coin that and hashtag it, Catherine. Catherine, as you were leading through the movement, were you able to identify what does a healthy ecosystem looks like for women founders and investors coming together? What does that vision looks like for you?
I think we just have to be focused more on how do we put people in communities and rooms together that are like-minded, that both have the same intention, and that we have to emphasize to founders that investors are people just like them, and they are looking for something to invest in that they believe in because maybe they're not an innovator, but they want to invest in things that make an impact and they want to build their portfolio. And so know they're out there looking for you. And then founders have to have the mindset that they're actually offering something of great value and that together you can make the world a better place by putting this innovation into the world. And so looking for this like-minded people is so important, and it takes time to develop those relationships. I was just talking to a woman that's developing a tech company, and I'm so glad to hear her say, Catherine, I'm setting aside a time to go meet and develop relationships with potential investors. And I don't hear enough founders say that. I think they don't realize how critical that is to their success. And that I always say, because I say putting the fun into fundraising, it's fun to meet other extraordinary people. So don't look at it as a drag. Go out there and meet these fascinating investors and other fascinating founders. Look for it, look to it with joy instead of with dread. And that will show in your energy and your presentation. And so people want to deal with people with good energy and good intention. And finding those people that have those same values as you is really what it's about. And that makes it a little bit of an easier road.
Absolutely. And especially, Catherine, in your ecosystem, you actually showcase how to do it because you really do very strong, warm introductions for people and with generously. I've never seen anyone as generous as you. Why did you approach that one to create such a healthy ecosystem? Why was that as a strategy for you?
I'm just a big believer in being authentic. And I think I always say I love Maya Angelou's saying, people don't remember what you say, they remember how you made them feel. And
Mhm.
there's a real energy is a real thing. And so I think we should do the things in our life, whether it's meditation or a gratitude journal or just doing things to help other people that, and also to help yourself, but being a grounded in your own self. It's so important to bring that kind of a person to the table. And I always say there's no downside to connecting people. It's free.
Mhm.
It's just if I meet somebody over here and someone over here and I go, oh my gosh, they should belong together, that understanding there's a joy in connecting people. It doesn't always have to be about money. Sometimes it's just about building your network of really awesome people and connecting them to each other. And there's a magic in that. And so I can't recommend it enough. Build that kind of a ecosystem around yourself. The rest will fall into place.
And that's a ripple effect, Catherine, you create over and over again. So when you look at your impact today, what is the ripple effect you're very proud of?
The ripple effect, I think, is that in every city we've been in, over 100 cities, over 400 screenings, every single city has cultivated more women becoming investors in venture capital, more women starting their own funds, and just raising general awareness. I've had people sitting in an audience, husband and wife, and the wife says, oh my gosh, I've been letting my husband do all the investments. I'm going to tell him we need to be investing in women entrepreneurs, realizing that they have a say so too. And so I feel like we've really gotten women thinking of themselves as investors. And I
Mhm.
think it's something we couldn't have done by just talking to them. We had to show them how important it is, how gratifying it is, and how essential it is to our future.
Mhm.
So I think that's the most gratifying thing that's happened.
That's amazing. And what are those leadership principles that guide you to create these movements, Catherine?
The leadership principles, just that I would say the leadership principles are just to lead with integrity
Mhm.
and never deviate from your values. If I'm very passionate about something, which obviously I'm very passionate about this, I realize that as I'm connecting people or raising funds for any endeavor, it's never for myself. It's for the greater purpose on the planet. We all have a purpose on the planet, and that's what we need to be doing is just putting our concentration and our efforts and our energy into that focus of what it is, why we're here, what we're meant to do to help make the world a better place. So that's my focus, that's my energy. And I try to really just surround myself with other people that are like minded and we're all in this together. Like, how can we change this? People like yourself that we're just so aligned on how do we do this? How do we get this movement growing further, faster, better to benefit women financially, to help them build their wealth, and also to help them build their businesses. And I do believe we're all capable of that. Women are a powerful force in this country. And then another side note of something interesting happening also with regard to men is there's a whole big girl dad revolution going on. And what I mean by that is if you notice, so many men now are getting behind their daughters. They're huge champions of them. They're leaving them their businesses, they're leaving them their wealth. This never happened just a couple decades ago. So
Mhm.
it's inexplainable, but the universe, I think, is just giving women wind at the back by having this revolution of men that are girl dads. And it's very exciting to see that as well, because we do need both genders championing women. Yeah.
I completely agree with you. And especially when the current political ecosystem is not in the favor, people may feel very disappointed and the stakes are really high. Catherine, do you have any advice for leaders and community organizers to really stay focused on their mission?
Yeah, you have to stay focused on the mission because you can't let those things distract you. Yes, there's a little small sector of people that are wanting to take away women's rights or roll back the rights, but I think they're a very small sector. I do think the majority of people are way more evolved than that. They realize how smart women are, how women need to be able to do their innovations and their creations and things that will impact the planet, and that the planet suffers if we don't have everyone's ideas at the table. I just recently at a screening had a big burly guy who was doing the audio at our event, and he came over to me and he said, Catherine, I love this movie and I'm so much about empowering women. And I think it's so important to the world and our planet and to our country. And I think there's a lot of men. I hear this a lot from men telling me they are big champions of women and that more women need to be helping run everything from the government to the planet at large. So I think there's a lot of male advocacy that's like never before. And of course, women building their confidence now, creating more and more powerful entrepreneurial groups to help each other, as opposed to the past when it was just one woman in the room and she wouldn't champion the other women because she wanted to be the only one in the room and because she knew there were only allowed one woman in the room. But that's really changed so much. And look at all these billionaire women innovators now that are popping up. You're going to see more and more of that. And look what they're doing with their money. They're doing such good things with it. So women make great politicians, women make great business people, and of course, great mothers. And just, I think people in general, both genders, are seeing that women need to have more of a say so in the world in order for us to really salvage the world and also to help it grow into a more democratized society, which is equal in wealth and everything for all people.
I completely agree with you, Catherine. The things that you said is we all have to work together because this is not one gender or the other. This is a
Correct.
collaborative work to really move the needle on the GDP. Otherwise, we won't really create the economies of scale. And you do all these movements, and you know that there's a lot of unseen work behind the scene. It's invisible. What does the behind the scene efforts look like? And that's been hardest for you and also the most essential in making it real for others.
You know what? I've been so fortunate that I have 30 plus people that are featured in our Show Her the Money book that all help make the film possible. So it takes a village. They've invested in it. They come to the screenings. There's stories in the book, Show Her the Money, and they're incredible stories, and they're all incredibly successful people. And they champion the film and the book and everything that we're doing, our college program to help young women learn about, young men and women to learn about venture capital in college. So it takes a village. I also have a great team of people around me. Michaela, that heads up our tour, helped me with the 100 city tour and all that planning. Roxanne, who also heads up our podcast and our newsletters. Everybody has a great team behind them. If they're being real, nobody does it on their own, right? So it is getting like-minded people that believe in what you're doing. And I'm so fortunate to have a really enthusiastic, amazing team.
Amazing. And Catherine, because you have done a 100 city tour, were there any unseen challenges or sacrifices you had to make? Because that doesn't show up when you see it on LinkedIn too, but were there any things that you had to navigate?
The first year going to 50 cities myself of the 100 was definitely challenging, but the excitement that we would feel in the rooms really fuels you to keep going. That people so appreciate the Show Her the Money film makes it all worthwhile to know that they're excited, they appreciate it, that you're making a difference. That really fuels you. Yeah, I didn't the only unforeseen things I saw was really how amazed I was at the magic and the palpable energy in every single screening. It was uncanny and still is. We continue the tour, even though we are available on Amazon and Apple, like you mentioned at the beginning. People still come to our site to book a screening for their group or their university. And so still traveling, still have a full schedule this year of going to in-person events because there's nothing more magical than showing the film on the big screen with a group of enthusiastic people and talking about it after and what can we all do together to make it better. And so there's a magic in that. It's nice to watch it at home if you haven't gotten to any of our group screenings, but we still do both.
I agree. The screenings are very powerful, and it's also leaves people to engage with the right folks. And really, all the questions are answered because there's a lot of how-tos and they don't understand. And but once they meet you, they're like, oh, I can do it. I totally can do it. You have done the show of the money, and it's becoming a legacy on this planet. What do you want this legacy to look like after you step away? How do you see the show of the money becomes a real movement that it can be self-sustainable?
Yeah, I see it keep growing, especially as more and more women are starting their own funds. The film really, I think, has a long shelf life to educate women and men about what is venture capital. The film explains it in such an easy to understand way. So if you've ever been wondering what is venture capital, you watch our movie and literally in an hour and less than an hour and a half, you understand what it is, you understand how exciting it is, you understand how you probably want to be a part of it, and that it's not just for millionaires to invest in, it's for people that maybe you have your IRA and you want to put 25,000 into a venture capital fund so that you can help fund the future. Understanding about diversifying, or maybe you're inheriting a tremendous amount of wealth and you want to use it for the greater good as well as continue to build your family legacy, and understanding that this is such an important part of your portfolio that you want to invest in and help women to thrive, and especially in areas that matter to you. Everybody should create their own thesis of what they want to invest in. I think too many people hand their money over to a wealth manager. They don't even know what the wealth manager is actually investing in. Put it in some mutual fund. Maybe it goes against what you're even wanting to be behind. Maybe you're an environmentalist and they're putting it into oil and gas. Pay attention to where your money's going. So, yes, it's important to have a wealth manager and be in stocks and bonds and savings and those things. But I think, especially the Gen X generation, and I wish more of our generation would understand it's so important to put at least 2 to 5% of your portfolio over here into alternative investments that are really making an impact. And honestly, people make way more money on alternatives than they do on those general products that your wealth manager is recommending. Wealth managers don't always have access to alternative investments, which could be anything from angel investing to venture capital investing to even investing in things like land or the arts. And so they're not going to recommend them because they don't have them in their offerings. They don't get paid for it. So they're not going to recommend it. We have to take it upon ourselves to educate ourselves on alternative investments. In fact, on our website, show her, excuse me, not show her the money, but She Angel Investors, we have resources and we have a whole section on alternative investments. And we have a section on women founded funds because you might not know where to begin and see who aligns with what you want to be putting your money into. And so we have lots of resources. We also have resources for founders on sheangelinvestors.com as well. So everything from books, podcasts, workshops. We just want to be a platform that people know we're a go-to place to get resources, whether you're an investor or wannabe investor or a founder.
Oh, I love it. And let's talk about AI, Catherine. We are in the world of AI and things are emerging and the platforms are emerging. What are you seeing big opportunities right now? And is there something the founders and the investors should be doing differently?
Yeah, I think you and I are big proponents of investing in this sector. I think the tough part is, what do you invest in? I feel like we're fortunate in that by being in this sector, we can personally know people in that sector and that we believe in, that we think we should invest in, which I know gives you a leg up because it's hard to know. There's so many AI projects out there, opportunities, and most of them will fail. So it's a matter of really picking, choosing, and knowing who could help you vet that. I think that's really important. It's one of the things I like about venture capital is your smart general partners are
Mhm.
vetting it for you. You don't have to be an expert in that arena. I feel like with angel investing, you better know what you're doing. You better be able to vet that company if you're going to invest in one company. But if that's not your forte, go over to venture capital. It's like a mutual fund and let that general partner that's running that fund and deploying that capital and bringing in those deals, let them vet it. That they're the experts. It's no different really than investing in a mutual fund with your wealth advisor, where again, you're not picking who's in that, you're letting them do it. At least with this, you have a little bit more input, you have a little bit more exposure to seeing where your money's going. I think that's a lot of pluses about venture capital.
Catherine, I'm a beneficiary of all the work because the alternative investments was something you actually put the seed in me because till that time I really didn't know. I thought it was stocks and real estate and gold, the traditional one. And there was one newsletter that came into my inbox. So I would say, can you check out? She is so good with investments. And it was a game changer. And that's how we got our world started to merge together. And it's been a game changer with the kind of resources you provide to each and everyone who's following you and reading it. It's game changer because the articles that you write is so timely and so beneficial. So well said that, yeah, you need to work with the people who are experts and work with them and invest effectively. So,
Yeah, and you've gotten very prolific at that. You send me recommendations. So, yeah, it's an exciting arena to step into. And it is where really people are making their largest profits is in those alternative investments. And I think the Generation Z is really very aware of that. And millennials, they seem to be understanding that alternative wealth assets are important. And I love that they're ahead of the game there.
they are, and I think the current trend around the AI infrastructure and access to the AI infrastructure is not available for the Gen Z and the millennials and women like the way the other investments are available. And Catherine, there is a lot of work we need to do there. And but once we have the infrastructure available, then it's easy for everybody to come in.
And I
And
think it's important too,
yeah,
Chai, and I know you and I are big on this. Who's running the company that you're going to invest in? So
exactly.
I know, and I'm going to bring this up since you and I are fans of this company. For instance, when Anthropic goes public this year, this is a company that I think someone should ask their portfolio manager to invest in because the president is a woman. The person in charge of tech is a woman. And let's face it, AI is very skewed toward men. Mostly the bros are working on programming it. You want a system like Claude that is really speaking to both men and women and getting information from both of them so it's more balanced. So I wouldn't invest in just any AI company. I would invest in one that has both genders at the table that are creating the product and they are known to have tremendous integrity. So you have to know who you're investing in, especially when it comes to AI.
Completely. And I think that the rubric that you gave, Catherine, is really the rubric if everyone understands when you're investing, whether in a public market or in a private market, you can actually change the energy in how, where the innovation will happen,
Yes.
right? And where we can move it because the money drives the real conversation. So thank you for sharing that rubric. I know we talked about your movement, we talked about your leadership principles and also the future. Is there a question I should have asked, but I did not ask you today?
I think you have a great lineup of questions. I can't really think of any. Just excited for people to understand that how to get a hold of our products is at sheangelinvestors.com. To know that if they haven't seen our movie, our site is showherthemoneymovie.com. And they, of course, can find it on Amazon or Apple TV if they search for it, or they can go to our website and click on the page that goes to Amazon. That we have a college program. I don't think we talked a lot about that. We're rolling out a program that combines our award winning movie with an online curriculum and video case studies. So I'm so excited. It looks like we're going to be going into the number one entrepreneurial school, which is Babson. We've also just rolled out in Tulsa and also in Colorado. And we're attending an event in October to talk to as many schools around the world as possible and get that out in this year and next year to as many students as we can so that young people learn about venture capital. And that, by the way, of course, is on our site, showherthemoneymovie.com, our college program, if anybody wants to learn about that. And we were so honored, Chai, that just last year, US News and World Report said that Show Her the Money is one of the 10 best financial films of the decade. So we wear that with a badge of honor, and I hope everybody will see the film and see what a game changer it is for them.
It is definitely a game changer. I saw the movie, I have the book, I'm watching you, Catherine, as my role model, and you're really an icon in the world. And we are really grateful that you are in our life. I want to know, how do
Thank you.
you define iconic leadership?
I think iconic leadership is someone that is aware that there is some issue or problem that needs to be fixed and they become a change maker, thinking that devoting your life to making change in the world and actually taking the actions to create that change. That would be an iconic leader to me. And so I have so many that I definitely look up to. And I think we need more iconic women leaders in the world. And I certainly appreciate the ones that we do have and see younger ones coming up in the next generation that are really moving the needle as well. So, yeah, I think it's the iconic change makers that are the leaders.
Absolutely. And you have been amazing, and you have showcased that for many of the members in our ecosystem. Again, Catherine, thank you for sharing your story and your framework. And for everyone who is listening today, if this resonated, please subscribe to the Iconic Leadership Podcast. And also, we have an assessment, the movie, as well as the book is coming out where Catherine is going to be featured, and you want to know her story, it will be accessible for you. And if this episode adds value, can you do me a favor? Take a screenshot, tag me and Catherine, and share it with the world. That's how we know that this particular episode made value or created value for you. And if someone in your life could benefit from hearing how to lead movements, and someone who's at a turning point, whether building a business or looking for funding, then share this episode with them. And one last thing before you go, as a thank you for listening, I have a special gift. You will be entered into a free copy of the book during the launch week. So please schedule and put in your email address. And this is Chaitra Vedalapalli. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, when we lead with purpose, we unlock prosperity for everyone. Again, Catherine, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Chai. Thank you, everyone.